What can you say to someone like Charles Leclerc? He is driving a Ferrari that is anything but perfect, and yet, no offense to his multi-medal winning teammate, yesterday he made a big difference with the SF-25 single-seater. Only getting on the podium certainly was not the result expected before the start of the 2025 Formula One Championship. And yet yesterday, when he crossed the finish line, his satisfaction over the radio exploded after yet another strong performance. At the end of every Formula One race comes the usual team radio, where driver and race engineer exchange hot takes on the race. At the 6.174-kilometer Jeddah Corniche Circuit, as mentioned, emotions were high. Bryan Bozzi came on the radio to confirm third place. P3, great race, Charles. Then team principal Frederic Vasseur chimed in, clearly delighted with the podium. Super Charles, thank you! The Monegasque driver was clearly emotional, but even made a joke. Recalling the disqualification in the Chinese Grand Prix, he preemptively mentioned he would do some pickup, namely collecting tire marbles to increase weight and recharge the battery. Then he talked about the race, calling it a rather tough one. He congratulated the whole team, and although he admitted that third place is not the result he aims for, he said he was very satisfied, convinced that the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix race had been amazing. Then he talked about the first stint, where car number 16 was very strong, especially in the second half after those ahead of him made their pit stops. The same goes for the second stint, where Charles Leclerc managed the tires extremely well and held off Lando Norris's comeback. It was a result fully earned and pursued by the Ferrari driver, who had already come close in Japan in his battle with Oscar Piastri during a comeback drive. Charles Leclerc said he was very satisfied with his race and, more generally, with the Maranello team's work. He emphasized how the strategy was perfect and the pit stop impeccable, openly praising the mechanics who, in his words, often only get mentioned when something goes wrong, but who are actually doing an exceptional job that goes unrecognized. According to the Monegasque, what Ferrari currently lacks is qualifying performance. He believes this shortfall mainly stems from an aerodynamic downforce deficit compared to Red Bull, McLaren, and Mercedes. However, he acknowledged tire degradation management as a strength, which really made the difference during the race. He admitted that on Saturdays, at least for now, he is not able to perform at his best, and this affects the whole weekend. Despite that, Charles Leclerc feels he is improving. The Monegasque driver explained that over the past few weekends, he has been better understanding some aspects that, in his view, have allowed him to take a step forward. He has not felt this comfortable in his car for a long time, even though he is aware that more overall performance is still needed to truly fight at the front. That is a non-negotiable goal for the near future. Regarding the fight with McLaren, Charles Leclerc did not hide the fact that, for now, the gap is still significant, but he added that with the right updates, it will be possible to close in. In particular, he identified the Barcelona round as a key moment of the 2025 Formula One season, when the technical directive on flexible wings will debut, concluding by saying that until that point, it will be difficult to close the gap. Confidence, however, remains. After waiting 4 Grands Prix, Ferrari has finally returned to the podium, even if it is only the lowest step for now, leading the Italian side to this important result, one that certainly boosts the confidence of a team once again facing the nightmare of not being solid enough to fight for the title, was a fantastic Charles Leclerc, who delivered a solid performance on all fronts. The decision to extend the first stint definitely paid off for the Monegasque. With a 9-lap tire advantage, he first overtook George Russell and then built a sufficient gap to the McLaren of Lando Norris, who finished behind the SF-25 at the end of the race. But the fact that Leclerc was able to lead the race for a few laps and thus drive in clean air highlighted an interesting point. During the race, we witnessed Charles Leclerc's incredible pace on the medium tires, almost on par with that of Lando Norris, who was running on the hard compound. This performance even surprised Charles Leclerc himself, fueling further doubts about a car that already shows clear issues and urgently needs upgrades to reignite the title hopes of its 2 drivers. In the post-race interviews for podium finishers, Charles Leclerc emphasized how much the team needs to work on the car's balance, especially with qualifying in mind, as he still has not managed to put together a good qualifying lap so far. At Jeddah, it was the first sector where the gap formed between Ferrari and pole-sitter Max Verstappen. The times recorded in sectors 2 and 3, on the other hand, were in line with the Dutchman's. Ferrari's number 16 described the Jeddah weekend as positive, stating that he felt he had absolutely maximized everything possible, with nothing more left in the car. He admitted that the team needed to focus on qualifying, as it had been a long time since he was satisfied with the car's balance. Charles Leclerc added that he felt comfortable enough with the car to usually extract its full potential, but unfortunately, its current performance wasn't sufficient to target higher positions in qualifying. In the race, however, the car's balance proved effective. The Monegasque driver noted they were surprised by the pace in clean air during the first stint, and that everything had gone right, from the strategy to the pit stops, leaving them with nothing more they could have done. The 1997-born driver went on to talk about his feelings during the race, admitting that the fact the first sector was favorable in the race, unlike in qualifying, is due to a clear mistake on Ferrari's part, one that needs to be resolved quickly. Starting as far up the grid as possible plays a crucial role because it gives you the chance to drive in clean air. More than ever this year, as Charles Leclerc himself admitted, running without any car in front is vital. At the end of the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, Charles Leclerc concluded that they had lost 4/10 in the first 3 corners, despite being quick throughout the rest of the lap. He pointed out that during the race, the first sector had likely been the best they'd had so far. The Monegasque driver stressed the need to analyze the situation, acknowledging that they were clearly getting something wrong and had to find a solution quickly. Charles Leclerc warned that they could not afford to lose too many more races before addressing the issue, as he was already 50 points behind in the Drivers' Championship. After Ferrari grabbed their first podium finish in 2025, team boss Fred Vasseur has labeled Charles Leclerc's performance as a wonderful job, while he also hinted at when the Scuderia might bring their next set of upgrades. Ferrari appeared to struggle for pace across the practice sessions, and so significant were their struggles that Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc were forced to bolt on a second set of fresh softs in Q1 to progress into the middle segment of qualifying. However, the SF-25 came in the race alive. Charles Leclerc started on the medium and managed to run a very long opening stint, managing his tires better than any other drivers. After the race, Ferrari team principal Fred Vasseur reflected on the team's performance in Jeddah, emphasizing the importance of starting from the front given their consistently strong race pace. He explained that Charles had been somewhat conservative at the start to manage the situation, which in turn allowed them to maintain speed in the final phase of the race. Fred Vasseur stressed the need for continued work and development to improve as quickly as possible. He acknowledged that the team had certain weaknesses, particularly in qualifying, while remaining competitive on Sundays. He made it clear that the responsibility was shared collectively, stating that it wasn't about individuals, but the entire team, as they were all in the same boat.